I've been to enough Sage parties to know that the speeches are the worst part of them. Experience tells me that my few minutes up here are going to be an unwelcome distraction from the champagne and the nice conversations that you were having before we rudely interrupted them. So the part of me that wants everyone to like me says, keep it short. But then I kind of have this mischievous streak that makes me want to ramble on tediously for hours until we're all twitching from alcohol withdrawal symptoms. We'll see which one gets the better of me. Now, Ziad asked me to say some words about this book, and I'll be honest, I don't really know what to say. It's a book, it's made of paper, it's hopefully bound slightly better than my art book. Apparently, though, I have to say something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow some words from someone more famous, more quotable, and more respected than I am. Edward Tufte, the great data visualization guru and sculptor, no less. And he apparently has a small sign taped to his computer monitor that says, if you're not doing something different, you're not doing anything at all. It's a note that I don't have pinned to my monitor, but I probably should have, because I really like different. I strive for different, not always in a good way. In 2008, I was in Rotterdam updating my SPSS book. It was the third edition that I was doing. I bookended each chapter with a little anecdote from the only story that I had available to me, which was my life. Now, some people thought that was different. I just thought it's a poor imitation of what I could have done. Then a couple of years later, a rival publisher's, Wiley, asked me to write a Stats for Dummies book for them. And I was quite intrigued by the prospect for all sorts of reasons. But anyway, I spoke to my editor at Sage at the time because, there could have been conflicts and all the rest of it. And I assumed there was some kind of internal Sage London panic attack that went on. I'm not sure, but out of the blue, I got a phone call from Ziad. And as Ziad explained, we have a long history, but believe me, he doesn't phone me very often. In fact, most people don't phone me very often because I go to great lengths to tell everyone how much I hate telephone conversations. But anyway, a phone call from Ziad is a rare and beautiful thing. The gist of this conversation was that Ziad convinced me that I should write this book for Sage. What he said was, why not write the book for us? We will let you do whatever you like. You can have complete control. You can express yourself fully. What? You mean you'd give me complete control even after the incident? Yes, he replied, after what I like to misremember as a dramatic pause. What Ziad was offering me was something quite special, really, the opportunity to indulge my imagination, to go somewhere that perhaps other publishers wouldn't let me go. To try something without needing to justify it with research or pedagogy, essentially to follow my heart and not my head. The question was, what did my heart want to do? I briefly considered whether it was at all possible to cram even more penis jokes into a statistics textbook. I'd been there, I'd done that. I'd worn the phallus. And if you're not doing something different, you're not doing anything at all. So I thought back to 2008, this idea of writing a fictional story through which students learn statistics through a shared adventure with the main character. I thought about enlisting an artist who could do kind of funky graphic novel stuff to enhance the story, to bring it to life. I didn't know anything about writing fiction, but I figured, well, I didn't know anything about logistic regression or multi-level models before I wrote 60-page chapters on them. In fact, it's fair to say, I don't really know that much about statistics. But it's never stopped me. So over the next 2 years, I collected ideas for an adventure in statistics. I thought about a futuristic world in which a reality prism had been invented, a kind of hat that sits on your head and splits reality into the subjective and objective. And it brought society down to collapse because no one could handle the truth. No one tried because they didn't have all these kind of weird beliefs in themselves because they could see the truth. And in the wake of this reality revolution, society had fragmented into people who clung on to the pre-technological past, the Clocktorians, and those who embraced the technology of the new world, the chippers. Into this world, I put essentially two characters, Zach, a rock musician, and his girlfriend, Dr. Alice Nightingale, the the first generation since the revolution to believe in themselves and to believe that anything was possible. Zach with his music and Alice with her research. But then Alice suddenly disappears, leaving Zach with a broken harp, a song playing on a loop, and a scientific report that makes no sense to him because he skipped all his classes to form a band. Fearing the worst, he sets out to find her, but strange things happen. There are people collapsing and losing their memories. He's getting weird messages from this person called Milton, and the word jigsaw seems to be following him around like a spectre. Zach feels like something is terribly wrong and that Alice is in danger, but her vanishing triggers an even worse thought that maybe, after 10 years together, they're drifting apart. At a basic level, An Adventure in Statistics is a story about Zach searching for Alice and seeking the truth, but it's also about an unlikely friendship he forms with a sarcastic cat. It's about him facing his fear of science and numbers. It's about him learning to believe in himself. It's a story about love, about not forgetting who you are. It's about searching for the heartbeats that hide in the gaps between you and the people you love. It's about having faith in others. Of course, it's also about fitting models, robust methods, classical and Bayesian estimation, significance testing, and a whole bunch of tedious statistical things, but hopefully you'll be so engaged in the story that you won't notice them. Or they might be a welcome relief from the terrible fiction. Only time will tell. Of course, the writing was a very solitary endeavour, but many people have had essential roles to play in the book. There are too many people to thank, but I'm going to thank a few people. First of all, my wife, who's busy looking after our son at the moment, so she's not here. But suffice it to say that I couldn't have done this without her. She's an amazing person and read the entire book and gave me feedback on it, which I think goes beyond your wedding vows. I'd also like to thank our dog Ramsey for getting me up at 6 o'clock in the morning for walks. You'd be surprised how much mental space you get on a walk with a dog to think through book writing. I'd like to thank Ziad. He was true to his word and let me write the book that I wanted to write. But I think more importantly, he gave his colleagues at Sage the freedom to support the project unconditionally. Academic publishing can be a very conservative place to be, and unconventional ideas are often met with resistance and panic. And I have no idea what Ziad said or did to the team at Sage, but I like to imagine that he bought them a team of small puppies that they could stroke every time one of my suggestions made them feel slightly anxious. The result has been the most rewarding writing experience of my career, and I would like to now have those puppies to help me to quash the quite considerable anxiety that I now feel about people actually reading the book. I also want to thank Ian, the production editor, who did an amazing job with the layouts and visuals. I think it's fair to say that if his football team had put in half the effort this season that he put in to this book, they would not be about to be relegated. I'd like to thank Robin, my production editor, for her support and feedback on the fictional story. And on the subject of the fictional story, however bad the fiction is, it would have been an awful lot worse without Gillian's insightful and transformative feedback. Finally, the thing most obvious about this book is that there's some badass artwork in it. And my biggest debt is to James, the man who created it. There have been a few pivotal moments in the book's life, but none more so than when he replied to my advert on freelancer.com. He fought off about 80 other applicants to get the gig, and although I deluded myself that this was a massively important decision that I needed to procrastinate over for days and weeks, basically, he worked on Doctor Who. And I love Doctor Who. So he was really going to have to go some not to get the job. Unknown to me, though, I hadn't just found an exceptionally gifted artist, but I'd also found someone who would put every bit as much passion and care into the book that I have. In many ways, I kind of think that James and I are a bit like Zach and Alice from the story. One of us is a big-hearted, artistic, free spirit, and the other is a socially inept, aloof scientist with fantastic cheekbones, according to Ziad. Like Zach, James became a reluctant hero on an adventure where he had to endure countless statistics lessons. Like Alice, I have constantly kept him in the dark about what I was up to. Like Zach, James has dealt fearlessly with every bizarre thing that I've thrown him. Like Alice, I've vanished for weeks on end without telling him what I was doing or where I was going. Like Zach, James has never given up on me. And like Alice, I sent him a cryptic song and did some genetic experiments on zombies. No, hang on, that didn't happen. I'm also fairly sure, although I can't speak for James, that at no point during the development of this book have we ever been in love. Although I've certainly been in love with his artwork. Right, I thought I should end with a toast, but I didn't really know what to toast. So tonight is both a beginning and an end, and beginnings are very exciting for some people. Perhaps we should toast the beginning of the public life of this book, the beginning of a well-received book maybe, the beginning of inspiring young scientists, the beginning of people thinking differently about teaching statistics. All of that would be nice, but I find it very difficult to focus on those things. Instead, I'm focusing on the fact that beginnings can be very scary too. And today could be the beginning of having my bubble burst and seeing the book through a reality prism of my own that shows me some kind of weird truth in the form of scathing reviews, poor sales, sympathetic looks, and 5 wasted years of my life. So I don't want to toast beginnings, because beginnings are shit. Perhaps we should toast the end, then. I'm pretty sure Ian will want to celebrate the end of working with me. James is probably going to want to celebrate the end of frantic requests to change bananas into sausages. I suspect everyone in the room is going to want to celebrate the end of this speech. Funnily enough, I don't like endings either. When I was a child and people come to visit, when they left, I always felt kind of hollow and weird, and it was just, didn't like it at all. For over 2 years, the characters in this book, especially Zach, Alice, Milton and Celia, have been the house guests of my mind. We've had a lot of fun times, we've worked hard, we've played hard, we've had lots of late night conversations, we've shared our deepest feelings, we've discussed life, and they've helped me to see the world through different eyes. And today, they all leave me to find their own way in the world, and I'm going to miss them. Like I said, I hate endings. So, what can we toast? If we can't toast beginnings and endings, then I'd like to toast being different. Because if it's true that if you're not doing something different, you're not doing anything at all, then I feel that with an adventure in statistics, at least I've done something. So, to being different.